Let's go back to 1919. A single law, the Rowlatt Act, is passed, and it sends shockwaves through the very foundations of the British Empire in India. The reaction it sparked was something nobody had ever seen before. Now, this wasn't just another protest. This was the first time Mahatma Gandhi's radical idea of nonviolent resistance, Satyagraha, was put to the test across the entire nation. So, let's dive right into this moment, a real turning point in India's long road to freedom.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll look at the unjust law itself, then Gandhi's call to action, how the nation rose up, the terrible tragedy at Jallianwala Bagh, the aftermath and the official inquiry, and finally we'll wrap up with the lasting legacy of the whole movement.
So, to really get why this law caused such an uproar, we have to understand what was going on at the time. World War I had just wrapped up, and the air in India was thick with anticipation.
And this, right here, is the central question. India had poured its heart and soul into the war effort for Britain. We're talking over 1 million soldiers, huge amounts of resources. And they did it all based on a promise of real political reforms, a bigger say in their own future. But what did they get? Instead of a reward, they got a betrayal, a slap in the face in the form of the Rowlatt Act, which was designed to crush the very freedoms they had just fought and died for.
You can see how this all unfolded. It started with a so-called temporary measure during the war, the Defense of India Act. But then, in 1918, a committee headed by a guy named Sidney Rowlatt decided, hey, these wartime powers are pretty useful. They recommended making them permanent to handle any seditious conspiracy. And by March 1919, bam! Despite every single Indian member of the council voting against it, the Rowlatt Act was rammed through.
Now you gotta understand, this wasn't just a one-off thing. It was part of a classic British strategy, the carrot and stick policy. On one hand, they dangle a carrot, some minor reforms like the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, just enough to keep the moderates happy. But on the other hand, they held a massive stick, a brutal law like the Rowlatt Act, ready to smash any real dissent.
And when I say brutal, I mean it. Just look at this. The government could lock someone up for 2 years without a trial, no appeal, nothing. They could hold secret trials for sedition with no jury. It was basically the suspension of all your fundamental rights. The goal was simple: silence everyone.
So in the face of this absolute injustice, Mahatma Gandhi saw his moment. He saw a chance to unite the entire country and unleash his most powerful weapon, Satyagraha.
What's so amazing here is that Gandhi did this without the big political machinery behind him at first. The Indian National Congress, they were a bit hesitant, so Gandhi built this movement from the ground up. He started these local committees, Satyagraha Sabhas in Bombay, then he just hit the road, crisscrossing the country, spreading his message of peaceful protest, hartals or nationwide strikes in boycotts.
And it didn't take long for his call to resonate. Soon, you had some of the biggest names in the freedom struggle joining him. Leaders like Vallabhbhai Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru, plus powerful local figures like Dr. Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal in Punjab. Their support gave the movement incredible legitimacy and strength across the nation.
And what happened next was something the British were completely unprepared for. The response from the people wasn't just positive. It was like the entire nation woke up at once.
That first major hartal on March 30th? Wow, it was a truly historic day. For the very first time, you had Hindus and Muslims, rich and poor, people from every corner of the country, all standing together for one single cause. That kind of unity had never been seen before, and it sent a clear, powerful message to the British: we are united and we are angry.
The protest took all kinds of forms. The main tool, of course, was the hartal, strikes that brought entire cities to a grinding halt. But you also had these huge rallies, students walking out of their colleges, people refusing to buy British goods. The whole machinery of daily life was peacefully gummed up to show just how much they opposed this law.
But as this peaceful movement started to build momentum, the British response just got uglier and uglier, leading to one of the darkest, most shameful days in Indian history.
In Amritsar, the situation just spiraled out of control so fast. On April 9th, 2 beloved local leaders were arrested. The very next day, troops opened fire on a peaceful crowd that was just demanding their release. And that set the stage for April 13th, the festival of Baisakhi and the absolute horror of Jallianwala Bagh. Over 15,000 people, men, women, and children, gathered in this enclosed garden. They were unarmed. Brigadier General Reginald Dyer showed up, blocked the only way out, and gave the order to fire, no warning. For 10 solid minutes, his soldiers fired round after round into the terrified crowd. The official numbers are low, but we know now that over 1,000 people were killed. It wasn't a riot, it was a massacre, pure and simple.
The shock and the outrage were immediate. As word got out, it spread like wildfire across India and around the world. In one of the most powerful gestures of protest, the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore gave back his British knighthood. It was a symbolic act that shouted the world's condemnation of what the British had done.
So, in the wake of all this violence, both Gandhi and the British government had to figure out what to do next. This led to the end of the movement and an official investigation that was a sham from the start.
Gandhi was just heartbroken by the massacre. He made the incredibly tough call to end the Satyagraha. He said he had made a Himalayan blunder, realizing that the people weren't truly ready for disciplined, nonviolent protest yet. For him, it was this moment of deep personal reflection. He knew he had to truly teach the principles of Satyagraha before trying again on this scale.
And the British response? Well, they formed the Hunter Commission, but it was nothing more than a whitewash. Sure, they said General Dyer's actions were unjustified, but his punishment? He was just forced to resign. That's it. No trial, no jail time. For the people of India, this was the final straw. It proved beyond any doubt that the British Raj was morally bankrupt and had no intention of delivering justice.
So, if the Satyagraha was called off, does that mean it was a failure? Not even close. Its long-term impact was enormous, and it completely changed the game for the freedom struggle.
Let's just run through the key takeaways here, because these are important. First, it cemented Gandhi as the undisputed leader of the masses in India. Second, it proved that mass protests could actually work against the British. Third, it laid the foundation for the even bigger non-cooperation movement that was just around the corner. Fourth, the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre exposed the brutal, ugly truth of British imperialism for the whole world to see. And finally, the pressure actually worked. By 1920, the Rowlatt Act was gone.
Which brings us to one final, big question to think about. Considering it was called off and ended in such a horrible tragedy, was the Rowlatt Satyagraha a failure? Or was it the brutal, painful, but absolutely necessary spark that finally woke up the entire nation and put it on a determined path towards independence? That's something worth pondering.